We turn the lights off on you. Yeah. All right, what I want to do here is start by telling you how Pima County plans to pay for these bonds that they want to pass. So that's Prop 463. As you can see here, this is our secondary debt chart, and you can see that green line that is descending there. That's our debt service over the next 10 years. And you can tell there that it starts in about 2020, that it starts declining very, very rapidly. All right? So if nothing were done, if no bonds were passed in the next 10 years, you would have, if you look on that left-hand side there, right there, you would see that our debt service is 70 cents per 100 of whatever your property valuation is. So if you have a $100,000 house, then you're paying $700 currently in taxes right around that area. Now, obviously, if that debt is totally paid off, you're putting that $700 in your pocket rather than paying debt for the county. And what the county is proposing is that we do an infill here. As the debt goes down, we issue enough new debt to keep that at 70 cents per 100. So that at the end of 10 years, you'll still be paying 70 cents per 100 on your property. Okay? That's how they plan to pay for it. Whose idea was this? Well, you know, all the ideas start with our county administrator, I believe. And, the purpose is, we have, unbelievably, we have 70% of all our roads are in failed condition in unincorporated Pima County. 70%. You know, that didn't start happening 5 years ago. It takes 13 years just to have your road in a failed condition. So this has been going on for a long time.
But the bike paths are beautiful.
Who gets to participate? Well, if you read the ordinance, it's all about unincorporated Pima County. There's no mention of anybody else participating like the municipalities, except in the fact that we're going to give them some money. All right? I'm going to go back to that point in just a second. Who holds the purse strings? Well, it's a county project. Our county administrator is going to be the key person there.
Oh, we don't even get to vote for it.
Can we trust the Board of Supervisors? Well, everybody has to make up their own mind. But back in 2015, when we defeated that mega bond of $816 million for a bunch of different causes, one of the primary reasons people gave for voting against it was we can't trust the Board of Supervisors. In the past, they believed that he has been, the Board of Supervisors and our county administrator have been moving that money around. What effects will it have on my taxes? Well, they say, and they very cleverly say, that it isn't going to raise your rate. Well, no, it isn't. But my property value went up 7% on my home last year. Now, obviously, if I'm paying 70 cents per 100 and I have an increased value, my property taxes went up. So you can expect that over the next 10 years, your property taxes are going to go up because of this. Now let's take a look at the participation. As I said, they're going to give some of this money to the municipalities. In fact, a majority of the money is going to the municipalities. And you can see the bottom figure there, 430 million. Marana 26, and then so forth on down. The big kahuna is the city of Tucson, who receives $200 million. Now they are already trying to float a $240 million bond for projects, plus they have floated $100 million for roads previously. They have the authority to continue, if they want to increase their debt, they have the authority to go out and issue more bonds. And I think that's the municipality's responsibilities, not Pima County's, not the voters of Pima County. So, some of the problems that I see. We're doling out $264 million to the municipalities. The city is only, I mean, the unincorporated area is only getting 166 million, and yes, they're controlling the purse strings. And what's happening here is that Huckleberry has decided, our administrator has decided, that they don't need to come up with a plan. We're gonna vote for that money, and then after we give them the money, then they're gonna tell us how they're gonna spend it. Now, can you imagine if our administrator came in today and he was doing this presentation, and he said, well, folks, I need $430 million, all right? And as soon as you pass it, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do with it.
That's it to find out what's
Yeah,
happening.
well, that's exactly what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening here. It's a use it or lose it basis. And all of the municipalities, according to our county administrator, have signed up to take their fair share.
Sure they have.
Now, that sounds like, the money's coming from God, and everybody that participates is gonna pay their share of it. So, that's, you gotta consider, what are they gonna use it for? They're gonna get this money, we don't know what they're gonna use it for, they have no plan. Maybe it's to substitute their current budget, which they can move, with this money right here, which has to be dedicated for repair and reconstruction. That's the county game. I don't want to pass it over to the city that I live in, Marana, the town that I live in, Marana, or Sarita, or anywhere else. It also, and I think this is a big deal, your council, if you live in Sarita, Marana, or Oro Valley, they have bypassed the voter. They have squashed the vote of the voter. Because what happens here is that if they passed it for road bonds, let's say they did have, Marana had, they need 80 miles of road bonds in order to use up all of that money. I mean, 80 miles of failed roads in order to use up all that money. If they passed it, for their purposes, they would need 51% of the vote. 51% of the vote, correct?
Yeah.
All right. By passing it over and doing it through the county, they bypass their voters.
Oh, Texas
They have
without
squashed
representation.
your right of self-determination.
Yep.
Because the county, unincorporated county, and the city of Tucson control 86% of all the votes.
Yeah, we know about it.
Now, we need your vote too in this, but you can see what they've done. They've diluted your vote. And I say shame on the municipalities for doing that. We've been having this problem, I said, over for a lot of years. And where does the buck stop? We have a county administrator that says, oh, the blame is with the state. They haven't been giving us our fair share. Okay, they've been calculating it wrong. We've been cheated all these years. Well, what I would say to that is, let's say you went to work one day and they called you into the president's office, they told you to go into the president's office, he has something to tell you. And you go walk in there and he says, sit down, I got something to tell you. And he says, our accounts receivable the last 3 months have been terrible, really terrible. Our customers just haven't been paying us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start paying you again as soon as they start paying us. Now, what would you think about that? And that's exactly what the county is. They're pointing their fingers. It's the Board of Supervisors' job and the county administrator's job to fund it, to figure out how to do it. Make the tough decisions. We don't need weak people. We need people running our government here. Over 15 years of neglect. Now you have to ask yourself, is it incompetence?
Yeah.
Is it deception?
Yeah.
Or duplicity?
All three.
And buy
Okay. Well, now I would say maybe in the Board of Supervisors, we got some Board of Supervisors that are incompetent. All right?
Oh, yeah.
No one can tell me that our county administrator is incompetent. He's a very smart, shrewd person.
Yeah, it's true.
All right? I'm gonna leave it there, and you decide from there
It's a
on.
rigged game.
So maybe it isn't, maybe it ain't about roads. Maybe it ain't about roads. 15 years, 20 years we've been neglecting this, and all of a sudden it pops to the top of the list. Here's what the HERF budget was. Now, I took this out of the Pima County website, the one on the left from 2017. It's set up exactly that same way. And it says here that HERF money, which is the highway user revenue funds, which is your gas tax, 45 million. The vehicle license tax, VLT, 13 million, and it shows it on the website this way. VLT, 13 million, all right? And so your total down there is $65 million. Well, I went through the budget as the best that I could, and he has it really set up on the right-hand side for 2019, and there really is just two items, HERF, which is 62 million, and then the other incidental is 2 million. Total $64 million. All right? Now, do you see anything wrong with that? The difference between the left side and the right side?
Right.
Yeah. We need 34 in order, and by the way, I'm only gonna be talking about Pima County, because we know, unincorporated Pima County, because we don't know what the municipality's gonna do with it. So I can't address that. But I know the county wants $166 million the first 5 years, and another $166 million 5 years later. The total, and I rounded it out to 170 million twice, so they need $34 million. You divide that by 10, by the way, and they need $34 million a year. Now you look at that and you say 34 million out of 64 million. By the way, their payroll is 20 million. And I have people that say it's more than that, but this is all I can find. So 34, you look at that and you say, well, maybe we do need a bond. You know, maybe if you're a novice looking at this, maybe we do 34 million just to repair and reconstruct the roads. Well, you know, we still got all the other stuff that the county does. Well, the county only fixes potholes. All the rest of it is contracted out. I don't know why you need a $20 million payroll for that. But anyway, so you look at that and you say, well, you know, maybe they do need it. Well, let's go find the rest of that money. Here, now, I found the VLT.
Yeah.
What they've done, and I understand they do it every year, except that for their display purposes, they happen to put it in 2017 in transportation. But it's over in the general revenue fund. So it's not, and you'd say, well, why did they do that?
So
Well,
if you
the
steal
obvious
it.
reason, they want to spend it somewhere else,
You want to steal it.
okay? So,
They use it.
but I believe there's another
Just
reason
want to steal
too.
it.
I believe there's another reason why they moved that money. And I alluded to it on the last clip. And that is, they don't want the budget to look too big. Because now you look at that and you say, well, if you just add in the VLT, you'd say 93 million. Well, now how come they can't get 36 million out of that 93?
Yeah.
You know? So I think they're setting this up. Duplicity we're getting into now, I think. There's a plan. Now, they in 2017 voted a 25-cent tax, 25 cent per 100 tax on the primary. I don't know how many of you noticed that, but they did. Okay? Well, they, in all their wisdom, decided, well, let's take that out this year, because their portion was $8 million. That's that in the new budget for 2019. Now, why did they take that out? Was it because they didn't need the $8 million anymore? And if they don't need the $8 million, why do they need the bonds? All right? The same way with the sheriff's money, or the county's sheriff's money. If they don't need the money, then why are we voting these bonds? Right? So we've got $8 million there that was in it before. Why would they take that out? Well, now you got 101 million. Now you sit there and say, that'd be absolutely crazy to vote for the bonds when we got that much money in transportation. And their primary objective in transportation is to fill potholes again, and that's stated. If you go to their website, that's what their job is. So their crew is small, yet they have a $20 million payroll. All right? So, let's take a look at an alternative here. 20 years we have been letting these roads go. This chart right here is put out by the Army Corps of Engineers. Right? They know what they're doing. They do projects all over the world. They've done HIP projects here locally. You'll see that what this does is it compares the cost of preservation to the cost of just letting them go to hell and then going back and reconstructing them. All right? That's the Pima County plan. So the green, you see the green Quonset huts at the top there? That's preservation. The green is in preservation. The red is, just letting them deteriorate, and every 13 years we rebuild it. Okay, so let's start with the green lines. You see you have a 1x there. We're comparing the cost of preservation versus the cost of reconstruction. So X represents one preservation. So you can see that we have 3 preservations over a period of 25 years. Oops. Over 25 years, 3 preservations. So that's 3x. Cost is 3x. Now take a look at that dotted line over here. At the end of that period, your roads are still in fair condition. All right. Now the alternative is to let them, as I said before, oops, let them go to hell and then go back and redo it. That costs you 6 times the cost of one preservation. And that is if they're just in poor condition, where they take what they call mill and fill. They mill off 2 inches of the road or so, and then they go back and lay new asphalt on top. All right, that's 6 times. Then you've got 8 times there if they have to go in and redo or more to do reconstruction.
All the way to the dirt.
All right, and that only takes you to year 13. All right, now they've got to go out and float bonds. Well, again, 13 and 13 come to what?
26.
26. You're out of 26, you're going to have to redo that whole process again.
So what's the answer?
You'll be done.
Let's take a look at an example here. Pay me now or pay me later. Based upon, and I used to the best of my ability to use the county's figures and went backwards through it to try to find out what the costs were per mile of road, that type of thing. For road preservation, it would cost over the next 13 years, and I'm going to actually total this right here. Over the total 26 years, for time's sake. Over the total 26 years, it's going to be $268 million to preserve the roads. That's a lot of money, no doubt about it. Let's go over to the Pima County plan. They're going to have to go out and bond. They're going to have to go out just like they are now. They're going to have to go out and find that money. And the only way they can do it is by bonding. So they're going to have payments over the following 10 years. That's 13 to 26. They're going to have to pay off $558 million in bonds. That includes inflation at 2.25%. Right? Both sides do. So what happened there? What's the difference? You see in the red there, $290 million taken out of your tax money, just thrown into the bonfire. No justification for that. No justification. That's incompetence for sure, but I think it goes beyond that. Because, again, we have a shrewd county administrator.
I haven't paid one
And we have no forensics in accounting for anything.
He's not voted for.
It's
Let's,
ridiculous.
Some of the other advantages of doing the preservation program, we've already talked about money, sustainability. All right? You're driving on roads that have been maintained. Your budget, it's in your budget. This is a budget item. This is a general budget item. So every year you've got that money put away through taxes to preserve your roads. You don't have to go to the public every 15 years and ask them to float a bond. So it's sustainable. It's sustainable because it's right in your budget. We're designating that amount. Congestion. Can you imagine what our roads are going to look like? 70% of them are going to be under reconstruction over the next 10 years. It'll actually take longer than that, but over the next 10 years, you know, some of your roads now that you're under construction, going down to one lane. You know, the way Iron is closed up there, all the traffic that is flooded onto Cortero Road and Orange Grove Road. You know, it's backed up on the highway every morning during rush hour. You know, it's inexcusable. And we're talking about 70% of our roads. Businesses. Okay, go up to Ina and probably other parts, wherever they're having to do a reconstruction on a road, you got businesses that can't survive. Well, you lose the tax money on the businesses, but you also, because they were hiring employment, you increase the unemployment rate. And then the taxpayers, obviously, if you're not paying the money for reconstruction, you've got more money. You're going to end up with that $290 million in your pocket, rather than being spent elsewhere. The drivers, obviously, are happier. You're on better roads. All right. Plus they say, and this is the county website, it takes between $500 and $600 per year. They say that it costs you added repairs on your vehicles when you're driving on failed roads. So that's back in your pocket. And then the last liability here. Two things about liability. You know, the county's already settled at least one lawsuit that I know of. I think it was for $2 million or something like that. They have no leg to stand on to go to court because they have shirked their responsibility to maintain the roads. So not only do you have actual damages, but you have negligence. They can't afford to go to court for that. So, and the other flip side of that, if people are getting hurt, it's a safety problem. So this is what our road is going to look like over the next 20 years. 10 to 20 years. You know? If you vote yes, you vote for $264 million to municipalities that have that no plan. $68.8 million to municipalities that have very few failed roads. I just haven't been able to find them in Marana. You know, and the 80 miles that they can repair and replace with the money they're getting. Road bonds every 15 years. Well, actually, now you're going to have another one in 5 years because they're only asking for half the money they really need. So in 5 years, the county plans on flipping another equal amount of bonds. And another $463 million to finish this here in 5 years. And you're voting for business as usual in Pima County.
What's the solution?
First you vote no on this.
My dad used to say, he said, you always know when an election's coming up, because all of a sudden street sweepers and the road crews show up.
Yeah.